Hi everyone, and welcome back to my podcast, Wine Therapy. Tonight I'm drinking a Sauvignon Blanc, which is really not like me. I feel like this is such a daytime wine, but it's what I have in the fridge. So, this was inspired by another fucking man lying to my face. And I know this is gonna round me up, so I'm trying to keep my cool, but I kind of briefly touched on it. In a previous episode, 6 weeks, one dude, and a whole lot of self-growth. I was so I rewatched that episode and I'm like, wow, go you. You sound so positive. I was right, and my gut feeling was right. It ended up being right, and I'm finding this out now, and I don't know if I had a whole lot of self-growth anymore because I feel like it just set me really far back. I'll get into that and spill all the tea. Anyways, I wanted to talk about gut feelings, and I think they're so amazing because they're always right, even if you don't want it to be right, which is when I feel like it usually tells me that something's wrong, is when I don't want that to be the case. Sometimes I feel like it's difficult to decipher if you're overthinking something or if you're actually having a gut feeling, and as an overthinker, I feel like you kind of have to come down back to earth from your head and figure out if it's actually a feeling that you experience or if it's just you kind of overthinking and stressing out over nothing. So I always like to ask myself, is it my gut feeling or is it me pushing him away for another reason? So for example, it's I'm really starting to like him, and knowing my dating habits, I tend to push people away when I start to feel a little bit too attached, because then they have power to hurt me. So is this a gut feeling, or am I just pushing him away because I actually really like him? Another example is he said he's going out with a friend, not his friends. So is he going out with a girl that he doesn't want me to know about? What's that about? That's overthinking. And then the other one would be kind of a pattern that you already have. So I definitely have an avoidant attachment style. When I feel someone's energy pulling back, I'll pull back more. You take one step back, I'm taking 20 in a slight jog, and even maybe dripping a little sweat. I'm running the other way. And that isn't something I have been able to change yet, but I would like to have appreciation for the fact that I'm aware of that. So now I can kind of sense patterns that I have where it's okay, normally I would run away, whereas I should probably face the challenge and talk about it instead of just fleeing. Knowing our attachment styles and recognizing our patterns and dating history, things like that, and actually being very self-aware of how you are in these different situations is a really good way to take a step back and evaluate if you're actually overthinking or if it's your intuition telling you there is something off. Because in the example I used previously, where it's okay, I'm pushing him away, I can't really figure out why, but I'm just kind of pushing him away. That's when I would sit down and evaluate myself. Okay, in the past, I have historically pushed men away when I'm starting to feel attached in feeling that I like them. So is this my gut telling me oh, push him away, it is just a feeling, but let me just push him away, I don't really know why, I just kind of want to? Or am I pushing him away because I actually enjoy him as a person? And I also find it really helpful to kind of sit down and talk it out with somebody, whether it's even with just yourself or a close friend. If you talk through your thoughts and your doubts when trying to decipher if you're overthinking or if your gut's actually telling you something, explaining it out loud kind of gives you an opportunity to see if you can explain it. What I mean by this is if you can explain them out loud and can almost even advocate for the other person and be well, he also is busy, and I know he's this and that, but he hasn't texted me in 8 hours, and I just don't like that. He's so done. I'm ghosting him now because he waited 8 hours, I'm gonna wait 9. It's likely you're overthinking and kind of panicking for some reason. But then if you try to explain it out loud and you can't explain it out loud, you just know something's either gonna happen that's bad, because your gut can also warn you of something that's going to happen, but it's just a feeling. Like if you can't explain like in words your doubts and worries and concerns, and like you can't put it into words, it's because it's a feeling. And in that case, that is most likely your gut trying to connect with your brain, being like, something is wrong. It's sending out warning signals. It is trying to tell you something's wrong, because one thing a person cannot lie about is their energy. So if you're picking up on something, you have to be confident in trusting your gut. Like, yeah, there's something wrong. I'm right. I know I am. I can't explain it. This brings me to my gut feeling and my experience with this that sprouted such a great idea to talk about on here with you guys. So I always say, if you feel like he's pulling his energy back, he is. If you think there's something wrong, there is. A woman's intuition also can pick up on like, oh, I feel like this person's dangerous. Oh, I feel like this person's a little creepy. I feel like I should be scared right now. You should. That is your entire body picking up on a bad energy, saying like flashing red lights, something's wrong. I've talked about this in more detail, so if you want to hear more detail before listening to this, it's on a previous episode. 6 dudes, what? I wish it was 6 dudes. 6 weeks, 1 dude, and a whole lot of self-growth. I had a great summer with this guy. It's kind of like a summer fling, and then he was leaving, I was leaving. We're from opposite sides of the country, to make a long story short, and he kept saying he wanted to try, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be really hard, like I'm scared. And towards the end of our relationship, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I got a disgusting gut feeling in my fucking stomach. It came out of nowhere. It was like, gut feelings can come out of nowhere, even when you're smooth sailing with a guy, things are going great. Like there's no anxiety involved in the relationship. Your gut can still pick up on something and warn you something's coming, something's gonna happen. So I had this horrible gut feeling like the day before he left, or maybe 2 days before, I don't even remember. I try and block it out of my memory because it was just a rough time for me. And I literally was crying in my car for 2 hours, like hysterically, because I'm like, he's not gonna try like he says he is. I was really like ready to have a relationship with this guy. I was gonna do long distance. I was gonna make it work because in my opinion, it was worth it. I really liked him and I saw it working. But then all of a sudden my gut was like, no, he's not gonna try. This is gonna fizzle out. He's not gonna have a conversation with you about it. It's just done. And that's that. And I was just like, whoa. So even though he was telling me differently, he was telling me he was gonna try. There was like, we're gonna find a time that we can visit each other, this and that, we can FaceTime. He's gonna call me. We'll talk throughout the day. Like, we'll make it work. My gut was like, fuck no, he's lying. Even though I really wanted to believe him, I was like, he's lying. So I went over to his house, which was self-growth. I'll give myself that. Usually I would just walk away from that and be like, well, that sucks, but my gut's telling me it's right, I'm gonna walk away. I tried to give him a chance, and I showed up at his place and was sobbing and was like, hear me out, I'm having concerns. Are we really doing this? I don't even know if I can try. Really just giving him a big cop out to try and like call him out on his lie. And he sat there and said, yes, I want to try. But he said everything that he would think I'd want to hear. And at that point, even though I even told him out loud, was like, I just have a really bad gut feeling and I don't want that feeling because it's always right. And he was like, well, it's wrong this time because blah, blah, blah. Fucking liar. Anyways, I ran with that because I was like, I'm not going to sit here and look even more pathetic and like make him reassure me more than he already is. I'm just going to have to pray to God that he's telling me the truth. And if he's not, I'll find that out eventually. But what else can I do that's not going to be humiliating and degrading to my ego? So I was like, okay, let's do this. I took everything he said and I just ran with it. He lied to my face. Time will always tell. My gut was correct, as it always is. He didn't try. He never called me. Fizzled out. We don't communicate anymore after all that. So yeah, that was tough. But I'm not going to sit here and complain about it because obviously he was not the one for me, and I couldn't see that until I needed something like this to happen to push him out of my life, and I'm blessed that that is the case, that he's out of my life, because he's a fucking liar. Anyways, still wish him the best. The night before he left, I even had the most vivid nightmare of him leaving and like us not working out, and he just completely ghosted me. In my dream, he blocked me and like all this stuff. But like, that's how strong your gut feeling is. Like, he was saying everything a woman would want to hear in this situation, and I still was like, something's off. And it wasn't me overthinking it, because everything he's saying is like, you can't argue against it. It's like, okay, yeah, like, let's try. I couldn't argue against it. It was the feeling I had. It's like, I didn't want to be right, but I was right. Because our gut feelings are always right. Even if you don't want it to be. But always listen to it. If you sense that you should be in fear, then be frightful for your life. If you feel like he is not giving you everything that you need, he's not giving you everything you need, and he's not worth your energy. If he says one thing, but you still don't believe him, a lot of people blame that on trust issues, but that's another thing you have to decipher between, if it's your trust issues or if you're actually experiencing like a feeling telling you that he's not telling you the truth. He's not being truthful with you. So I feel like there's a lot of people who come out and say, always trust your gut. But I feel like it's never spoken about how difficult it can be deciphering what that feeling is like between overthinking, people with anxiety, people with like dating history and trust issues and traumas. It is always right. So figure out how to decipher through. It's going to be different for everyone, but I hope that this helps anybody kind of like sit with yourself when you have these feelings to try and shuffle through to see what actually is a gut feeling for you. But everyone's gonna have their own way to figure out what that feels like, what that looks like. But once you have it, trust it, because my gut has never been wrong, and I'm sure a lot of other people can say the same. So yeah, that's all. I'll be back soon with another episode. I've been trying to film more, so cheers. I also just met another guy, so I'll maybe do an episode on how that's going soon. Okay, bye.